Meenakshi Shedde. I'm here at the Toronto International Film Festival TIFF with Tarsem Singh, whose fantastic new film Dear Jassi just opened to a great response from the audience. What does it feel like to be here at TIFF?
Horrible premiere, but very good reception with the audience.
Why horrible?
Well, they were, I think, all the sponsors down there, I think. You had too many people out there just sitting who every 10 minutes somebody was walking up with a whole bunch of Cokes to give them and coffee to give them and things to them, thinking like, so it was one of those experiences. So today I went and saw it properly with an audience, and apparently the press and industry screening was fantastic, and then I had a really great one with an audience. It's just the premiere. I want to get the taste out of my mouth. That's the seventh coffee.
But it's this film is very different from your earlier work, but it was it really hits you in the gut very hard, while having a very beautiful, gentle, warmly welcoming, romantic side to it, which one suspects it's going to a Bollywood space with boy meets girl scene, and then it turns into a completely different zone. Did you have to think a lot about how to make it differently from your earlier work? But it is very different.
It's a very different kind of film.
Yes.
So for me, it is a very visual film, but I'm usually known for visual, fantastical films.
Right.
So there's nothing fantastical about it, but it is a very visual story. So I decided to tell it in a much more tabloid, static way than what I'm usually known for.
Right. So did you have to consciously, as an artist, tone down what your normal style, because it's been around for a long time, you've got an Oscar nomination for The Cell, and you've been so, and in advertising, sorry?
No, it wasn't just Aiko who got an Oscar nomination for The Cell, yes.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's all right.
But also that, because you've had such a visual flair in your storytelling, which I find quite subdued now, and really allowing emotions to emerge. Was that very conscious for you?
It was, because I think you put on for what film, it's correct. This film and the story is a very somber, hard story. It just couldn't afford that flair. In fact, there was one time I used a track, a dolly shot, and then I just sent the dolly home. It isn't that type of film. So it didn't need, so was it difficult? No. This was the language this film needed to be told in.
Right. So did you, what was the starting point of the story, and how did it get into you?
The starting point was, I heard about this conversation about a mother who said a particular line to people who are holding her daughter. And I just said, that is the most horrendous line that I've ever heard. And how do I make a movie where that line makes sense?
What was the line?
She says, she means nothing to us, do whatever you want.
About her daughter?
About her daughter. And I had to, and this is people that were paid to kill her lover and now have got a captive because she's seen their face. So I just thought, like, where does that go? So I reverse engineered the rest of the film, because it was area that I was familiar with. The incident happened pretty close to where I was born, in Punjab, and in Canada I've been through Vancouver quite a few times, and I have quite a few cousins, so I kind of knew what the shit smelled like in both places.
Is that something that, in hindsight, because it's so different from your early work, does it give you a completely different kind of satisfaction making a film that's really a very deep social commentary, and it's really showing a mirror to ourselves?
It is a different type of film.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the Dhoom Dhalaka films. I really enjoyed this thing, but I did a very visual film about storytelling, which was The Fall, but that was also a personal film.
Yes.
So this is a personal film, but this is about a particular incident.
Yes.
So I just had to find the style to tell it in through my lens.
Yeah.
But then it turned out that it could not afford the flair. Not cash-wise, but it would have been a wrong language to use.
Sure. I was so enchanted by the casting. I don't know any of these people at all.
Nobody does.
But it was so, I wouldn't have ever dreamt that guy would be a hero, because he doesn't look like hero material, but there's something so quiet and tender about him, and so inward, actually. And, I would imagine it's so gifted that you would spot that immediately. What was it that made you cast both of them?
Well, him, because he wasn't an actor and he was actually an athlete.
Tell us both their names, because you're not known to everyone.
One is, it's okay. One is Yogam, because he was a kabaddi player.
Yogam Soot, he's actually
he is a kabaddi player, and I just said he will act this thing. So I had to make him do that. And the main thing was to basically figure out that he does, that he just become natural. And I had to keep actors away from him. She had done a music video.
This is Pavya Sidhu.
Pavya Sidhu had done a music video, and I think she had done. I'd seen nothing of hers.
Okay.
I only talked to her while cycling for 10 minutes, and I just said, "That's
cycling."
The girl. I was cycling to my son.
Okay.
And I had her headphones on. We had 24 hours to get the girl.
Okay.
I called every research person that I did. I said, "This movie's going to fall apart unless I find a girl immediately." The moment I talked to her, I just said, you're the person we're going to work. But if
You
it
knew
doesn't,
from her voice that she would be.
I saw one photo. They sent me some Instagram and something, and I don't know how to open that. It didn't happen. So when I saw it, a picture, I just said, talk to me while I cycling. And I talked to her, and I just said, you are the person, and it'll work out. This is the journey we're going to take. Because the problem was, like you said, he's not what you would call a conventionally artistic, like a
hero
Bollywood
material, yeah.
For me, that's a personal racist bias that I think the Indian upbringing brings.
Totally,
and
totally.
When I had the Indian girls, some girls who auditioned, when they came in, the moment they saw him, they were kind of like, oh, that's the guy. I told her, and okay, I'll have to. You could see that they were thinking, okay, I have to do some acting because he's like a villager and a blah 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 blah, and he is such a stud and he looks so beautiful that I thought, you know what I would do is, so when I had this girl, I knew anybody who grew up abroad wouldn't have that thing. They would just look a really fit guy who's good looking and it would work.
Right.
So when we went, I knew that when the first time I introduced the two of them, and I told her, like, you know, you'll have to do some acting because the guy looks the way he does. The moment she saw him, she said, like, he's hot. And I hugged her and I just said, thank you.
Super.
Because he is. He isn't in... Even in India, if you had to do a commercial for Camé or any soap, it wouldn't be that. They'd be looking for Fair and Lovely. They'd be looking for that crap. So I just said, it isn't that. But I could tell that she had a lens from the West.
Totally.
And it kind of worked.
Actually, it worked for me. I didn't mean it in the, maybe I used the wrong word. So I didn't mean conventional Bollywood in the, like the macho thing. But what I really liked about what attracted you to his character in the film is that he's very shy and tender and gentle. And that's not a quality one associates with Bollywood heroes. This was so beautiful, actually.
Yes, and
made it attractive.
When you do it in Bollywood, when you do it, it's much more operatic. You kind of make that person, a bit slow, or you make it that they've got some handicap in the brain, and that's why they're cute because they're stutterer or something like that, and they go to that extreme. And I just said, no, when you come from the city and you meet a guy in the village, the guy's already 10 times less uncomfortable than you and everything. So basically in this particular one, Juliet has the balls and the Romeo is kind of like, oh, and should you go there or shouldn't you? But that is what I thought happened. And I went with that story.
Were you constrained by any chance by what the facts of the case were? It's in the public domain, it's a real life case, it's not a biopic, but it's based. Was that in any way constricting, or did it liberate
I thought
you?
it was very liberating, because the thing is, if you look at this film, if anybody says that, like, oh, that feels fake, I guarantee you that really happened. So when I showed this film, and it's the stuff that we had to kind of change was just cities where we actually shot it, because I could not afford the art direction of what Ludhiana looks like now. So we went closer to the Pakistani border, which it looks like that village.
Where did you shoot?
Pretty close to the Pakistani border.
But not in India?
In India, Gandhivant, near Amritsar. So when we shot, their marriage and all happened in Ludhiana. The problem is Ludhiana is so changed, I couldn't afford it. So I went to Chandigarh, which is designed by Corbusier and is a national heritage, and you can't change it. So all these places, that's the kind of changes I made. Any incident that you look at, which my friend was saying, like, oh, so you kind of made it like Romeo and Juliet. And I went, what? And when he pointed out the similarities, I realized, like, oh, he said the thing about drugging the family, about, like, you know, taking... I said, that is exactly what they did. He couldn't meet her. So anything that you think is made up is not. That's how it was.
Did you have to tone down, because there's so much drama in the story from start to finish anyway? What are the things you had to remove in order to be more credible, maybe? Or because so
practically
dramatic?
nothing. I think when we did the thing, I think it's not. So when you see it with a lot of audience, they're falling in love with the characters, and that is people who also have a language barrier. So it's much more visual, just looking at each other across the these things, and also that was there. So I think most of the audience will think it's a bit slow. I wish it was faster moving in the beginning. It's not. But it makes you fall with the characters on how they would have fallen in love. And then you pull the rug.
I just wanted to ask you about, I overheard you speak, but I'm not sure I got the quote correctly, about the script being in Punjabi, the dialogues being in Punjabi, and your challenges with language. How did you work that out?
It was very difficult because everybody else was not Punjabi. I was the only Punjabi, and of course the actors are. So once you wrote the structure, I can't read Gurmukhi. It's my first language, Punjabi, but I can't read that. So now most people are used to what they call Roman English. They read it in English and they do that. I don't know how to do that. It would be very frustrating. So what I had to do was, the writer writes in Hindi. So from Hindi it got translated to English. Then I would have a person read it to me in Punjabi. And then I just said, okay, so that's why I cannot afford actors. You give me the real people, I will take them to so all I did for the 10 days was took them to the real places. And we just sat and we talked. And then we wrote the dialogue. So the structure we thought out, but the dialogue we just ignored.
Fantastic. It has
Thank
such
you.
a raw power, and I think casting was so much part of it.
It
And the
was.
music, please tell us a little about that.
There is no
fantastic
music in the
singer,
movie. Okay.
the
Kanwar Garewal.
beginning and end. Yeah,
That's
it's
the only thing I
marvelous.
remember when I told the writer that there is no music in the movie, including that there is no background music. And he said, like, how will you know when it's dramatic or when you're in love? I said, I hope through acting.
Yeah.
And so, because in a movie,
Yeah.
it's especially in the
Yeah,
East,
yeah.
it is so projected.
Right.
The tan, tan, tan means something bad is coming or hard, this thing. And I just said, none of that is there.
Right.
So I took all that out, but I wanted a folk singer to give me the beginning and the end. And I went after Kanwar.
And that
got him.
choice of that song is
He
so
is
beautiful.
brilliant.
A Kabir, like a Kabir.
That was
hymn,
something
right?
that no Bulle Shah.
Bulle Shah, sorry, Bulle Shah. Yeah.
So I got that. That's the part that I pulled from 3 poems of Bulle Shah, and I worked it out with the singer to write it.
Absolutely magnificent.
Thank you.
I hope the energy completely continues, and hope
Thank
you have
you
a
so much.
great screenings after and a
Thank
great
you.
release. Thank you so much, Tarsem. Thank you.